The wind howled across the frozen surface of Lake Superior, carrying with it the kind of cold that seeps straight into the bone. The ice stretched endlessly in every direction, an ocean of glass beneath a sky the color of steel. Brothers Mark and David Ellis had been fishing there since sunrise, their small portable shelter glowing faintly against the winter fog. For hours, nothing bit. The silence between them was broken only by the creak of the ice and the hum of their breath through wool scarves. But then, out of nowhere, David's rod bent violently, the line tightening so fast it nearly snapped. "Got something!" he shouted, his gloves slipping as he struggled to hold the reel. Mark rushed over, eyes wide. The rod was trembling like it had caught a living thing. The line screamed as it pulled taut, slicing against the edge of the ice hole. "Easy," Mark warned. "Don't lose it." But whatever was down there wasn't giving up easily. The rod bent further, groaning under the strain. For a moment, David thought it would break clean in half, then snapped. The tension loosened. The line went slack. "Damn it!" David cursed, his breath fogging in the air. But when he tried to reel it in, the line didn't come freely. It was still hooked, snagged on something heavy below. Mark knelt by the hole, peering into the dark water. "That's no fish," he muttered. "Something stuck under there." They tried pulling together, but the line wouldn't budge. It was like the lake itself had claimed whatever was beneath. The ice creaked, warning them to stop, but neither brother could walk away. Curiosity and something deeper kept them there. Finally, Mark jogged back to the truck and returned with an industrial auger and 2 heavy gaff hooks. "If it's a log, we'll find out soon enough," he said. They drilled hole after hole in a rough circle, the ice cracking in protest. Each bored deeper into the frozen surface until water began seeping through. The cold air filled with the smell of metal and diesel from the auger. When they looped the gaff hooks under the line and pulled, the ice shifted beneath them. Whatever was down there was massive, too large, too heavy to belong in a fishing story. "Pull!" Mark yelled, his boots scraping for grip. The rope strained, cutting into their gloves as they heaved with everything they had. Then, with a violent surge, something broke free. The ice around the hole splintered, sending small shards flying as a tangled frozen mass rose slowly from the water. It hit the surface with a hollow thud, a massive barnacle-crusted bundle of ropes, netting, and debris wrapped in thick ice. Both brothers stood panting, staring at it in disbelief. It looked ancient, dragged up from another time. "What the hell is that?" David whispered. They fetched bolt cutters from their truck and started slicing through the mess. The metal snapped against the tension of frozen rope, each cut revealing more of what was hidden beneath. As they worked, fragments of rusted metal and decayed wood fell away, clattering onto the ice. Then Mark's cutter struck something solid, a dark, rusted frame buried deep within the tangle. Mark crouched beside the mass, his gloves trembling as he chipped away at the ice with a hammer. Each strike revealed a bit more metal beneath corroded bars, twisted hinges, and faint traces of a latch. David knelt beside him, breathing hard, steam rising from his face. "It's a cage," Mark said quietly. The two brothers exchanged a look. Not a fishing trap, not machinery. An animal crate, the kind used for transport. The bars were thick, the shape unmistakable. David stepped back, his stomach sinking. "What's it doing down here?" No one answered. The air around them suddenly felt heavier, colder. Mark's voice dropped. "Help me get this open." They cut through the remaining ropes and used the bolt cutters to pry at the frozen log. The sound of snapping metal echoed across the empty lake. When the final hinge gave way, the corroded door creaked open. Inside was darkness. Mark leaned in, shining his flashlight through the opening. The beam reflected off something small, metallic, and familiar. He reached in slowly, hands shaking. When he pulled it out, the object dangled from his glove, a rusted dog collar, its nameplate still barely legible. He wiped the frost away and whispered, almost inaudibly, "Rocky." For a moment, the world around them stopped. David froze where he stood. "No," he said, his voice breaking. "That can't be." Mark's flashlight trembled as he looked back into the crate. The outlines inside were unmistakable bones, small and preserved by years of ice. The collar was still fastened around what remained of a neck. Tears blurred his vision. 15 years of wondering, searching, hoping, all ending here, on the cold surface of Lake Superior. He sat back, the collar resting in his palms. "He must have been stolen," he said quietly. "Thrown in, like he was nothing." David knelt beside him, his eyes red. "We thought he ran off in that blizzard all this time." Mark shook his head. "He didn't run away. Someone took him." The brothers sat in silence, the wind howling around them, carrying the sound of grief across the ice. In front of them, the crate sat half open, a frozen time capsule of loyalty and loss. David reached down, placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. "At least now we know," he whispered. "He waited for us, all these years." Mark nodded slowly, clutching the collar tight. He was trying to come home. As the sun sank behind the horizon, the ice glowed faintly around them, golden light reflecting through the cracks, framing the crate in a halo of fire and frost. The two brothers packed up their gear in silence. When they left the lake, they took nothing with them except a small rusted collar that had once belonged to a friend who never stopped waiting.